Hello and welcome to another Busy Webinar. I'm Dave Meyer with BizzyWeb, and we're so excited to have you with us to talk through Growth-Driven Design Deep Dive, 5 keys, steps to success. Wanted to get through a couple of minor details before we get going. First, probably important that you know who we are, and so I wanted to share a little bit about us for you. And so if you wouldn't mind, I just wanted to talk a little bit about who BizzyWeb is, what we are, what we do. And we are a growth marketing agency that focuses in manufacturing industries and in a few other places to help our customers grow their businesses through lead automation, generation, and all of the inbound marketing things that you can do in order to drive traffic not just into a funnel and convert them, but into a flywheel to continually re-engage and reconvert your customers into new and better clients. And so we wanted to go through a couple of things on that and, of course, take a deeper dive into growth-driven design as part of today's event. And so if you're around and wanted to share a little bit of time with us, we're actually going to load this up as a recording after this. So if you miss something, you can either scroll backwards or, of course, go ahead and give us a holler and or check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/BizzyWeb for a re-recording of this event or for the replay. All right, first, before we go in, I wanted to share just a little bit about what we think of when we talk about website designs. And so as you think of what happens inside of websites, there's a lot of things that might not be working when you're looking at redesigning your site. Maybe your site just isn't performing anymore. And so if you see and you're just not getting the conversions and the leads and the stuff that you're looking for, that's a great opportunity for you to look at a website redesign. And maybe you're getting fewer leads than you were before, or your organic rankings are starting to slide. You're not showing up on Google as highly as you wanted to because maybe your content is growing stale. If you don't have a lot of new content, that makes it really hard for Google to play matchmaker and for your customers to be excited and engaged with what you do. A lot of websites, I'd say probably over half that have been around for a while, have been around for more than 4 or 5 years. They might not even be mobile responsive or designed to show up on phones or tablets or desktops. And it needs to show up in all of those appropriately for the end user, not only for usability, but also for findability and searchability. There's a lot of new standards in software for web design that make it important for you to consider looking at redesigning your website fairly often. Now, growth-driven design is a new paradigm inside of website design, and it's something that you've heard us talk about a little bit before in past webinars. What does that mean? Well, it offers a way to launch your website quicker through incremental changes. So you actually build a launchpad website with just the basics, and that gets out in 60 days. And then from there, you continually redesign the website, and that minimizes those big challenges because you can just make incremental steps and improvements over what your traditional website redesign would be. Continuous improvement actually helps you to engage. And so if you look at the graphic on the page here, the typical design cycle is on the bottom in blue. And it might take 1.5 or even 2 years before you start getting frustrated with your existing website, and then maybe a 6-month redesign period happens, and then you go through your redesign, and that's H1. And then you go through another 1.5 or 2 years before you get frustrated enough that you go through another 6-month redesign to get you to H2. Now, if you build a Launchpad website, in that first few months, you get something up that's actually a measured improvement over your current website. And then that continual improvement represents the additional gains in productivity and results in the gold section of the graph. This also helps very easily to integrate your marketing and your sales department into one cohesive smarketing, where your sales is interacting with your marketing group and your marketing is delivering qualified leads that are then qualified by sales into sales qualified leads and then closed, and then those are turned into customers, and the entire circle continues to renew itself. You attract, delight, and engage, or attract, engage, and delight your customers on a continual basis. So that's kind of the goal of growth-driven design. So what do we need to talk about for a deep dive into your website redesign? First, we're going to talk through how to set goals for your website. Now, anybody that's been in business or that has done some of these social strategies is probably very familiar with goal setting, but I'm talking about a slightly different kind of goals. We're talking about marketing goals, and we're talking about activity. I don't want a certain amount of hits or clicks or leads. I want specific incremental steps towards a real business result. So that's where we're going to focus on for that. And then we're going to go through who should be on your growth-driven design team, brainstorming for changes, and then the process of agile project management informs most of what you do inside of a growth-driven design program. So we're going to talk about some basics of agile, including sprint meetings and how to measure your success and keep on track via dashboarding. So all that set in, let's get right down to setting goals. So first, you need to make sure that your goals are consistent with your business outcomes. At the end of the day, we all want to just make more money as business owners, or as nonprofits, you probably want better engagement or just some sort of better business result. So think about what that business result is for your business, and then you need to take steps backward in the process until you get to something that you can actually help convert. Now, new sales is a big one, but that relies very heavily on sales. And so as marketers, you need to think about how you can deliver those leads to sales and what those marketing qualified leads to then turn into sales qualified leads are going to be. So make sure that it's very specific to your business outcomes. Then you want to focus on how your website fits in with all of this. So what is your site? It's usually the hub of everything that you do in your marketing, but you need to think about what those necessary steps are. It's part of your marketing as your website, of course, but how can we get people to dedicated landing and conversion pages designed to get them to some next step where we can use the inbound methodology of continual re-engagement to build and connect with more and more clients, customers, engaged properties, or new lead sources on a regular basis. You need to think about what metrics really matter. And for most of us, it's engagements or depth or, of course, qualified leads. But then figure out what all of those are and list them out on a sheet of paper. And then, of course, you need to make them smart. Again, I talked about SMART. If you haven't seen what SMART goals are, we actually have a free template on our blog that's out. Blog post came out early this week or late last week. So go ahead, BizzyWeb.com/blog to check that out. But we have a great little template to help you set SMART goals. If you're looking for a primer on what those are, the SMART goal process is to make sure that your goal is as specific as possible. So it needs to be a specific point in time or a specific achievable goal. It needs to be physical and something that happens. It needs to be measurable. So getting better results is not measurable, and nor is it specific. Instead, it would be, we want 30% new qualified leads inside of our target market over the course of the next month, or over the course of the next 6 months, whatever that is. And that leads into, it needs to be achievable. Some might say attainable inside of SMART, but achievable in our case means that something you can actually do. If you're a small startup going from 0 to $1 billion over the course of the next year is probably not achievable. And it's also not realistic. So make sure that your goal is realistic and based in reality. So you need to have a needle that you can move, and it actually needs to be something that's going to be worth moving and capable of doing it. So if you simply have no way of getting in 700 new leads without spending way more than your current budget, you need to be very realistic on what that is. And then it also needs to be timely or time-based. You need to set a specific time frame over which your goal is designed to happen. Now, in general, by default, it's either by quarter or by month. I've seen goals up to a year. And of course, as you do long-term planning, you get into 3, 5, or 10-year goals. But for most of our marketing goals, we're probably talking around the quarter length or even around the month. So that's smart. As you're setting your SMART goals, here's some questions to ask yourself as you're going through. We actually have a SMART marketing goals template, and connect with me if you want that template. But we have questions that you should ask yourself, including what is the overall goal for our business? Again, tying it back to the actual company's needs. You want a specific set of new leads matching your existing target market inside of a specific time frame. What does marketing need to get that done? Do you have a lack of staffing and you're not going to be able to do the required actions to get you ranking better, to get you found, and to get something? Do you not have enough budget to do paid media in order to get the right amount of conversions to grow to meet that goal? So you need to do some shuffling and figure out where in your budget this stuff comes in. We focus on making ourselves as affordable as possible for our customers, for example, because usually what we come in at is about the price of an FTE. So if you're looking for a person to help you do this, for our case, you can just hire an entire team for the price of that person, and that actually includes some marketing budget. So that might be an easy way to do that. You want to make sure that you put a specific number to the goal. Again, this comes into being specific. Analyze the current situation. So you do need to set a baseline or benchmark yourself against where you are and where you want to go. And then you calculate the increase, look at the time frame, and how much time you actually have in order to accomplish things. So be very realistic in your timing. And then look at what your biggest challenge is and try to get over that hump first. If there's one thing that you're dreading doing or that it doesn't seem like you can actually get accomplished, that's the thing to focus on first. Eat the frog first in the morning, as it's been said. I think that was Brian Tracy. But make sure that you go right through and hit what's most important to you right away. Next, you need to focus on team. You need the right people in order to get you through the complicated waters of delivering better sales and marketing results. Inside of growth-driven design, you need to have a specific group of people, and I'm going to go through the common roles inside of growth-driven design and the roles that we use inside of our organization. But again, if you need help with your team, you might want to consider an agency to help you round that out, because it can be very cost-effective, especially over hiring additional headcount. As far as critical considerations on your team, you need to make sure that your team gets it, wants it, and has the capacity to accomplish what you're trying to do. So gets it means that they buy into the culture and into what you do. Wants it, do they want to actually be doing this thing? If you have a specific person that maybe is responsible for content, or maybe you have someone that's found themselves with the marketing title, but that's not really their passion, then maybe you need to help someone or find someone to connect up. Especially for chief revenue officers and people trying to tie together sales and marketing, you need to find people that you can just set loose to make this change. And so skill set and, of course, team structure. And we're going to talk about that. The mindset of your people inside of growth-driven design in particular, they need to be very curious as to what they can accomplish and how they can do it. You need to be a professional tinkerer to be successful in marketing nowadays, but specifically inside of growth-driven design, you need to be very curious as to, okay, well, that didn't work the way we expected. What did work, or how can we fix that, or how can we make that work? You need to have creative problem solvers that are very collaborative. Inside of an agile mindset, you need to work together almost constantly. And so inside of agile, it's just everybody gets together in a big scrum, and you just tie things out and you say, okay, well, I'm having troubles with this and with this part and with that. And Bob, Mary, and Sue all need to get together and say, yep, I got that one. I can do that. I can get you a report on that. So we need to collaborate. And we also need to be very empathetic. If you have a lot of silos in your organization, you need to be able to figure out how to get over that wall and get people to work together, because this is a very ingrained process where everyone's working together for the good of the whole. Makes it much easier to accomplish a lot of great things, but there are some cultural issues that you're going to have to work with inside of that. And then you do have to apply a little bit of science. You actually need to apply some dashboarding and look at actual numbers. I don't think you need to get into regression analysis or any of those heavy tactical or statistical things necessarily. You can rely on benchmarks and trending, but you do need to be comfortable with looking at numbers or working your way around a spreadsheet. All right, so for skill sets, everybody on the team needs to have a comfortableness with data, conversion rate optimization. You need to understand, okay, well, we have a benchmark and now we need to do more. Simple focus on tactics isn't going to get you where you need to be. You need to focus on more of what matters to your organization. You need to have great copywriting. It needs to not only be persuasive and interesting to your intended targets, but it needs to also be optimized for search engines and for conversion, which is a little bit like patting your head and rubbing your tummy. It's tough. There are different roles and different folks that you need to lean on, because it's not like creative writing. It's more like engaged writing towards a specific goal. User-centeredness, making sure that you focus on your user, having accessible pages and having content that's designed to work well, whether you're in line at a supermarket or at the bank and on your phone, or if you're meeting with someone at a restaurant and you're tabbing back and forth, or you're just hanging out on your tablet at night. If people are researching you, it needs to look great no matter where you are. The usability of the website, of course, anything that you put as far as friction inside of your flywheel, anything that slows down the decision process is something that needs to be gotten rid of inside of your process. So if something is more complicated than it needs to be, if you have 3 clicks, try to make it 2. If you have 2 clicks, see if you can get it done on 1 page and get people to autofill. Tools like HubSpot will allow you to grab some data and put it into the form to pre-populate if you already know that person. So it takes it away from needing to continually refill out additional information every time you're looking at more content. As an inbound agency, we focus on giving people things that are interesting and engaging and that get them to the next step. If you have to fill out a form every single time you do that, pretty soon you're going to get tired of filling out a form. It makes you feel like a number instead of like a treasured contact or a partner in helping people accomplish what they want to do. And so you need to look at audience, research data, and then again, we talked about agile process a little bit, but you need to all get together as a team and build that out. And so what does that team need to look like? Here are the roles for success. And I'm going to dig down a little bit deeper inside of each of these. So first, you need a strategist, the main person for your GDD project, your growth-driven design project. This is the person that kind of sets the barometer for your organization and is responsible for having the map and having the compass and saying, okay, well, we still need to get here. The designer is exactly what it sounds like, where you're going to be the person that helps grab the right content and the right designed information in order to put things together. Analyst looks at the data and figures out if you're going where you need to go. SEO and pay-per-click, at some level, you need to get found and you need to be able to drive traffic inside of any marketing. So you need that role inside of your organization. You, of course, need content inside of that role as well. And you need a nuts and bolts person to make it all work, someone to take care of the bits and bytes. And so you definitely need a developer. Let me go a little deeper. Strategist. This is our strategist, Michelle. I should note that everyone on the BizzyWeb team does different things for different clients because we like to keep cross-training and cross-populating. So for our current BizzyWeb clients that are in growth-driven design programs, if this isn't the person that's your strategist, then there's a reason for that. And so just a word. But Michelle, in most of our clients, does the growth-driven design responsibilities around team focus and is responsible for managing the tasks and making sure that everyone is on task. Responsible for marketing, for aligning marketing and sales to make sure that we're getting MQLs, marketing qualified leads, and that those are turning into SQLs, sales qualified leads, and that you're getting the feedback from the sales team to say, the people that we're getting inside of our marketing aren't quite authorized or aren't high enough in the purchase decision that they're converting for us. So we need to figure out how to get new and better leads at a different level. So having that alignment between what you do and how you're going to close it. Likewise, if you're developing and delivering a bang up job on marketing and you're getting all kinds of leads, but if your sales team isn't following up on them, that's a big problem. You're just throwing away your money at that point, and or probably upsetting your customers. So sales and marketing need to work together. Project management, communication, and looking at the dashboard is all what the strategist technically or typically does. The designer, web page design. This is the person that is responsible for making sure everything looks gorgeous, and then it's designed to convert. There's a lot of psychology and color themes and analysis that go into building your website and your growth-driven design interactions. Growth-driven design is more than just your website. It's all of the things that drive traffic into your website. So your designer needs to be comfortable with multidisciplinary design. They can't just be HTML folks. They need to be people that are comfortable with email, with ad design and graphics, with all of the things that go into all of those spokes that drive traffic into you and your business. They have to understand the psychology of colors. Blues are corporate and more cooling and responsible. Yellows tend to be more active and engaging and very visible. It's actually the most visible color on the scale as far as grabbing attention. So having yellow is often a good way to cheer things up and make yourself very noticeable inside of the cloud or miasma of information that's out there. Red tends to be very forceful and focused. So if you're trying to drive folks and get them excited and just get them to move, sometimes red is a great contact. That's why a lot of call to action buttons are red, for example. Black is very formal and tends to be kind of hip. You'll probably notice that a lot of design houses right now tend to be very dark and black. That's just to make them seem cool. And so there's all kinds of stuff that goes into it. If you're more earthy as an organization, just focus on what your personas, what your intended targets are looking for and who they need you to be, and then focus on the color that goes along that. And then, of course, advertising, content imagery, and all the great stuff that goes into all of that. They also work very closely with SEO, more so with paid pay-per-click content, and everyone else that's going to build out the site to kind of guide that. Analyst looks at all of the data, and they tell the rest of the team what they're learning from that data. So watch the users on the website using Hotjar, for example, or Google Analytics as a very simple and free example to say, okay, well, it looks like we're getting a lot of traffic, and then people are dropping off. We're getting a huge bounce rate on this particular conversion page. So what's that telling us? So going back and forth on that. The analyst keeps their eye on where things are going. Determining decisions for the website and A/B testing and user experience are all part of the analyst's role. A/B testing is the simple act of I have a option 1 and an option 2, and I'm going to semi-randomize those results. And if option 2 winds up performing better, we're going to do more of that, right? So building more on that. SEO and pay-per-click, this is sort of nuts and boltsy, but it's also very tricky. And so make sure that you have someone that knows what they're doing to help you with search engine optimization, with optimizing the content and the conversions on your page to get you findable, as well as pay-per-click. All kinds of stuff that goes into this. And I've given hour-long webinars, a number of them on search engine optimization. If you're interested in any of these things, you can just go into the search bar on BizzyWeb's website and just type, and you'll find a recording. Almost certainly we have more than 300 webinars that we've published at this point on both YouTube and other channels. So make sure that you check that out. But every single page needs to be optimized for whatever that page is trying to do. So if you have a landing page, it needs to be optimized in order to get people to it via search engine optimization and pay-per-click advertising and social engagement, but also to make sure that it will do what it needs to once people get there. Advertising to drive people where you want them to go inside of the site. If you have an ad campaign and it just goes to your homepage, and your homepage doesn't say anything about what you were doing or what that advertisement was, you're just wasting your click money. And focusing on things like advertising against a competitor or using a competitor's name in your ads is largely foolhardy, in my opinion, because if you're trying to, if someone is excited about working with company X, they've Googled company X, and they go to that page, or they go on your page expecting to find more information about company X, but it just goes to you, there's a 95, 98% chance that they're going to bounce off of that page. Well, this isn't what I was looking for, and it's going to wind up hurting you. So you need people that know how all of that stuff works and that can drive content and drive actual connections. Forgot to mention, Rachel is our analyst, Andy is our designer, and so Jenny is actually our SEO and pay-per-click expert on our team. And so if you've worked with Jenny before, very knowledgeable and brilliant. Likewise, content. Jenna on our team is responsible for much of our content, and so the content team member handles all of the text and a lot of times the imagery that goes with that for any given project. You need to use the right voice that matches what your customers expect from you and that matches your brand. If you're an accountant firm or a mortician, having a very light and airy and funny and cartoony brand probably isn't on point. You need to make sure that you're driving, if you're a enterprise company focusing on multi-million-dollar deals, you need to engage with people at the language level and at the conversion and the content level that they're expecting. They just want the facts at some level. Or a lot of times you do need to build relationships with people, but you need to match your tone to what that content needs to be. So the content person will create ad copy for campaigns, create and maintain blog editorial calendars, and of course the content. And I should mention that everybody meets in the Agile framework and has scrums and meetings about this stuff all the time. So it's not in silos for each of these roles. The content person is going to work with the analyst and the developer and the designer to build all of this content. But someone needs to be responsible for it, and that's where the content person goes. They post on social media, they publish email campaigns, they do inbound campaigns in our case on HubSpot. And so that's kind of how we run and what Jen is an expert in. Developer, you need someone responsible for the bits and bytes and to make sure that everything is semantically and syntax-wise proper, and making sure that it is as fast as possible, that it converts as well as possible, and that it's secure. And so having people on your development team that are brilliant at implementing existing edits, efficiencies in the website, testing to make sure that all this stuff works, and know how to fix those weird things that are inevitably going to pop up is very, very important. You need someone on your team that can get you over those technical hurdles. And they need to implement changes to the sitemap or the navigation. So that's the biggies. We have all of those staff members on every one of our growth-driven design programs for our clients. And so we're constantly meeting together, and we have regular meetings, which leads me to the meeting process, brainstorming. Brainstorming can seem simple, but a lot of people overcomplicate it and or ruin it by trying to do a few key things poorly. So first, your goal is to get as much stuff out as possible. What are we trying to accomplish? We know that we need more leads in X. We have our goal, which is specific, measurable, achievable, or reality-based and time-sensitive. What are we going to do to accomplish that? So you just need to get all of your ideas out. You need to have buy-in from your executive management, from your sales, and from your marketing teams to all meet together on this. So it's not just your growth-driven design team that needs to have impact on that or input on this, but you need to get it out there. So get them out there. There's no wrong ideas. Just brainstorm it all out. We want to ship balloons or have a big gorilla on top of our building and drive traffic in. Well, that's an idea. Let's get it out there, and then maybe that'll lead you to something else. Like we need something to capture drive-by traffic or something. And so no criticism is allowed on those ideas. Just get it out on the board and then rank order all of the ideas that come up. And you're looking for quantity at first over quality. And then you're going to rank them and then get it going. If you do get stuck, use structured brainstorming ideas like SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis, the 5 whys, putting out a question or a problem and say, why are we doing that? And then ask that why 5 more times. It's kind of like hanging out with a toddler. Why? And that'll help you. You can also do mind mapping, draw things out. And the idea is to be as cohesive in your thought building process in order to get as much content and context out there to help you accomplish what you need to do. And then what do? You need to look at the situation where you're at. You need to analyze your user's behavior, and then look at your SMART goals, open the floor to ideas inside of that brainstorming, organize those ideas into groups, look for commonality inside of those ideas and consolidate them in, and then of course create your action plan. Your action plan is going to be what you accomplish every month inside of your growth-driven design process. Typically, GDD processes will fall into 4 categories. First, boosting conversion. You want something that's going to take the traffic on your website and help it to convert more, to get more people to do what you're trying them to do, whether that's conversion points, user path testing, value propositions of different values and sorts. Are people going to respond better to click here? Probably not. Or order the call to action today, or get your free report. Or is it going to be sell more? What's that button that you've got on your site to help? Split testing, A/B testing is going to fall into that boost conversion area. Next, improve user experience. Navigation, blog layout, UI, mobile, all of that stuff. It needs to look great, but more important, it needs to convert well. So you need to design your website and everything that you do inside of your growth-driven design process to get people from A to B as quickly and simply as possible. So anything that slows you down inside of that, you need to excise or improve. So getting people to help with that is going to be very important. You need to personalize it to the user. So calls to action that are relevant to each person. This is where building sales or marketing or personas is going to be very important. Having a randomized best person that you're trying to convert for is very helpful in helping you idealize what that person's interested in, and they need to tailor that based on their interest. And you need to build an entire workflow. This is where tools like HubSpot come in very handy, because you can build an entire workflow into what happens. So user X visits a page, and then you give them a couple of options. Depending on what option they choose, you should give them more relevant to what they do, or start introducing other options if you're trying to cross or upsell that person. If, for example, they're inside of your flywheel already and they're an existing customer. So how can you get them to help you? And then building marketing assets. This is the content stuff. This is what you need in order to keep developing and driving more content. So all of the tools, the website, the social, all of the SEO and social engagement platforms. Maybe it's time to look at Instagram. Maybe it's time to start building out your LinkedIn and doing live video, which is incredibly easy to convert now, or has a lot of extra oomph or juice inside of the conversion algorithms on LinkedIn right now. Directories or listings or any SEO focused asset is important. So that's what you focus on inside of your growth-driven design process. What you do in order to get that done is to hold sprint meetings. So sprints are short meetings where the growth-driven design team reviews the state of current tasks. They ask for help from the teams, like, I'm struggling with this thing. Can you guys help me with the conversion rate on this page? There's too high of a bounce rate on this particular page, or we're just not getting the leads that we're looking for. Handing things off between team members. This is very collaborative, very traditionally agile. And so you're having scrum meetings that are going through in those sprints, and you're building it out. And you determine the next items to tackle with again, being realistic and time-based and saying, okay, well, we can only do so much. So you're prioritizing what each of these things are, and you're assigning the workload to say, okay, well, Mary, you have way too much on your plate right now with this big project that we're trying to launch. So Bob, can you pull up a couple of things on this? So pulling that together can be a huge help. For a sprint meeting, as you're doing these, first, the strategist shares a list of backlog tasks. So you keep a running list inside of some sort of a tracking software. You review the focus for the current time period, what you're trying to do over this month, quarter, year, whatever it is. Usually it's a quarter for overall focus time period. And then you discuss updates that might change the plan or part of the plan. So we noticed that this thing is converting very well, or this thing isn't converting well at all, or maybe you have a technical issue that you need to get over before you can move forward with your plan. review those tasks in your team capacity, and look to your team members to volunteer for tasks based on ability and capacity. And then for best results, you're just going to rinse and repeat. Keep doing this over and over again. Growth-driven design is not a point-in-time process. You're continually updating your website as part of your marketing, and you don't look at it and forget about it for a couple of years. You look at it and you're constantly improving, and that's where the real results start coming, that incremental steps that builds all of that extra value and momentum inside of your marketing. So share your current task list and backlog with your management so that they understand where you're at, and report your progress every month and keep it going. You do need the dashboard as part of this, and I mentioned that before, but your dashboard is going to help you track your performance, plan the quarterly theme. So this is what we want to accomplish this quarter, usually along one of those four that I covered before, and then manage that wish list and the action items. There are really good Google Sheets that help manage this. All of our clients have access to that, and that's part of our onboarding process for our clients, where we actually build a custom dashboard for them. It's really important to have a dashboard that you keep up and that you cover with some rigor every single month, every single meeting. You need to identify your fundamental assumptions for that dashboard. So translating your buyer journeys and personas into the things that you're assuming that customer needs to do, so that people understand the needs of that customer, the frequently asked questions that that customer might have, or the problems that you're trying to meet, knowing all of the communication channels that they're going to use, and then of course refining that messaging. Likewise for goals, your strategy determines those goals for marketing, because that's where you're building it. So you design plays to build out marketing and analyze key items. You're going to set KPIs, or key performance indicator options, to measure those plays. So we're looking for more conversions for X kind of client in this specific business line, or getting more of this type of lead to our sales team. KPIs, how many of those links are happening, how many of those clicks are happening, how many feeders for that end result are we able to supply. And then overall measurement needs to happen over the course of an entire year. For baseline, you want to get a 1-year monthly baseline for all areas you're tracking. This helps you notice as you go year over year if you're improving, and it helps you start to identify some seasonality. So maybe your September is very high because everybody's back to school. Here in Minnesota, for sure, people are very active over the fall and usually the first few months of the year, because there's really not much else to do in Minnesota. But over the summer, everybody's outside. And so you need to focus on those realistic goals and see what those cycles are, and isolate your user behaviors as you move it forward. You need to know your monthly source data. So each month you need to tally up the interactions from the baseline data that you want to track, whether that's current trends toward goal. We are seeing more conversions or more rankings, higher rankings, or better click-through rates or completions on specific things. Compared to the same time last year, what's working, what isn't, and then identify a few things that need refinement every time. Your scorecard, again, shows monthly and quarterly data. So you need to focus on all of those things, consolidating your numbers for easy reporting, and knowing what to work on next. So all of this is incredibly important. You need to track every one of these. Again, we spend an immense amount of time building our scorecard and translating and communicating that scorecard with our client teams as we build all of these things forward. So, this is something that, there's definitely templates that are available out there. Stay tuned on our blog, because we're going to have some templates and things out there to help you for the individual states of each of the growth-driven design process points. But it's really important to keep your eye on that particular ball. In summary, the big 5 things that you need to know in order to be successful for a growth-driven design web project, and really any truly aggressive marketing program, is you need to set your goals. You need to identify who's going to be on your team and make sure that that team is cross-disciplinary and willing to work together. Do they get it? Do they want it? And do they have the capacity to help you? You need to brainstorm for change and keep those ideas flowing. And you need to have sprint meetings and careful dashboarding to identify, are you moving forward? And what can you do as far as next steps to keep getting you the results that you're looking for? If you need more information, you can just log on and reach this. For the 60 or so folks that did subscribe or that were getting this and hopefully watching live, hi everybody, that were watching this webinar, you're going to get an email with a free ebook that will help you incorporate growth-driven design into your web design project. So this will give you all of the details that you need, and it actually asks a couple of really cool questions inside of that. So make sure to look for that. If you are happening upon this on YouTube and you've made it all the way through, first, bless you, thank you for hanging out. But second, just go to BizzyWeb.com/GDD for more information and to request this particular document. Next month, we are going to be talking about how to use digital marketing. So stepping back a little bit and all of the engagement processes, the ways to attract your customers and fill up that marketing funnel. We're going to show you 3 reasons why marketing in the digital realm is becoming the norm and how to use some of the best practices to actually drive more traffic and more engagement for your business. Keep yourself on the map, and that's on October 9th. For anyone that's local, I do want to invite you a week from Thursday to our 20th anniversary party. We are having a 20th anniversary on September 19th from 2 to 5 Central. One of the other things that's turning 20 this year is the movie Office Space, one of our favorites. I have my trusty red swingline stapler from that, and we may have a couple of TPS reports hanging around reminding ourselves not to take ourselves too seriously. So our 20th anniversary party on the 19th of September 2019 from 2 to 5 is going to be Office Space themed. And yes, as the grand finale, we are going to smash the living heck out of a printer. So hope you can join us there, and check out our website at BizzyWeb.com/events for more information around that. If you want to get a hold of me, here's how to do so. You can reach me at dave@BizzyWeb.com or send me a note. Just give me a holler at 424-9990. Would love to hang out with you. And I sincerely hope that this webinar and the content and the items that BizzyWeb provides as part of these webinars can help you generate buzz without getting stung. Have an absolutely fantastic month, and we will see you next month. Take care.